Still applauding over its run there. Williamson confirmed in second place, John Robson third. But now comes what promises to be the event of the afternoon, the last track event, and you're just in time to see it live. 12.5 laps of the track, the 5,000 meters, featuring the world record holder himself, Henry Rono from Kenya. The world record time, 13 minutes, 8.4 seconds. Rono, hidden in the crowd, just introduced away from him there. You may have just seen him raise his hand. He's wearing number 47. But what a field we've got. There's Rod Dixon from New Zealand, who's beaten him recently. Right there in the centre, Britain's great hero, Brendan Foster from Gateshead, the British record holder and former European champion. Rod Dixon just being announced. And there wearing 46 is the man they all fear, the mighty Eamon Coughlin from Ireland. Works for the Irish Tourist Board. And what a job he's done publicising Ireland. Fastest miler in the field. Also in the field, right on the inside, is Mick McCall from Elsie. Such a big field. There's going to be quite a race early on to get clear of the trouble. And Craig Masbach of Haringey takes the lead. He's the American, the Yank at Oxford University, who runs for Haringey and Southgate, and he clearly has got to make the pace. In second place is David Fitzsimons of Australia, and we've got a real international field here and the prospect of a very fast race indeed. Although, having said that, the conditions are not ideal for 5,000 metre runners. It's too warm. Fitzsimons in second place. Rod Dixon, you may not recognise so easily this afternoon, in the white vest instead of the dark of New Zealand. Little Laurie Spence of Scotland's in there. Race Medley, rather surprisingly, from Birchfield, having second run. In fact, he ran in the 10,000 metres last night. Rono, by the way, is out there in lane number 3. Doesn't trust himself to get boxed in at all there, so the way out of trouble for him is to stay way on the outside. Just alongside him, number 21, is Kim MacDonald of Leeds. Smedley moving up there just behind Fitzsimmons. The big boys will start to move through after the initial rush, and they've just completed 400 metres, and the time 64 seconds, which is on pace for 13 minutes 20 seconds. Now, pacemakers in a race like this don't want to take them too fast too soon, so this is well on the way to respectability. Now, this is an interesting character moving through. Rudy Sharper, the top American at the moment, comes from the University of Oregon, where the late and great Steve Prefontaine was, and he's supposed to be Prefontaine's successor. He's the fastest current American at 13 minutes 19 seconds. So Masbach, the American at Oxford, leads. In second place, Sharper. In third place, Fitzsimmons of Australia. Then comes Ray Smedley. Rod Dixon follows. Laurie Spence is next. Just checking back through the field, Brendan Foster is in 8th or 9th place. And that shadow of his from the northeast, from nearby Elsick, Mike McLeod, is tracking Foster. The two great rivals. And there's much a personal duel out there between the pair of them from different northeastern clubs, as there is a battle against the rest. And still, Rono, the man who abandons tactics really in almost every way, contradicts all the rules. He's running wide, keeping clear of trouble, and not making any moves so far. I'm just looking for the green vest of Eamon Coughlin there. Coughlin looks to me to be about 8th. He's wearing number 46, and he's tucked in there on the curve. And they've got to make this fast with Coughlin in the field, who, remember, is the world indoor mile record holder, and Coughlin too ran 3:52.9 for a mile just 2 weeks ago. So Masbach leads, Sharper America second, Fitzsimons of Australia in third place, Rod Dixon of New Zealand is fourth, Foster economically working through in 5th place, Spence of Scotland is next. Then one of the Americans, I'm not quite sure which one it is, but it could be Perkins. There have been several program changes. McLeod is just going through as well, just passing Smedley. Coughlin just dropping back slightly on the inside and going back through the field. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, Henry Rono. Well, while the track boys go on their way, one of the great figures, one of the great Olympians in action in the discus circle.
Alberto it is, and he's in second place at the moment behind John Powell of the United States, who's thrown 61.50, and that was fast. And this has been a real test of the competitiveness of Urta. It's just shy of 60 metres, which is just short of 200 feet. So he remains in second place.
On the track, they've got 9 laps left. Just checking the lap time, 64 seconds for the first lap. It speeded to 62.5 on the second. It was 66 on the third. So the pace not very even. They went through 3 laps in 3 minutes 13 seconds, which is smack on at even pace at the moment for 13 minutes 20 seconds. And the fastest time in the world this year is held by Nyambui of Tanzania, one of the fastest times ever recorded in the world. In fact, it was the second fastest time ever set earlier this season. Nyambui, that we saw at Gateshead last week, went the 3,000 metres, and his season's best and the second fastest of all time is 13:12.
The leader, Craig Masbach of America, and also Haringey now finds that Rono has closed the gap and is with him. Interesting character and no mean athlete in his own right. 3:54.7 he's run for the mile, and 3:54.7 defeating John Walker behind Eamon Coughlin, so he's a tremendous athlete. He's been a member of Haringey for some 2 years, but so far denied the possibility of running for them. He's been a second claim member and had trouble with the Southern Counties, but he's a first-rate athlete, and he's got behind him an interesting character, as David Coleman was saying, Rudy Chapa, the heir to Steve Prefontaine's throne, so much loved in Oregon. And interesting that on his shoulder is Rono now, who was recently booed in Oregon. Now, Oregon is the middle distance focal point of the whole of American track and field. Chapa is their man. Rono, who is expected to win everything, ran a slow race and got booed and booed and booed. But Rono takes up the lead now, 26 years of age, from the little Capsabet school in the Kiptorogan village in the Nandi Hills, at 7,600 feet with those tremendous asbestos lungs. Now at Washington State University, coached by John Chaplin, a member of the Kalenjin tribe, the same as Kip Keino, and really looking full of running now.
Well, this, the 99th running of the 3A's Championships, and this one of the greatest races in prospect ever in that long history. The championship sponsored by the Nationwide Building Society. 7 laps left. The pacemaker now has dropped out, Craig Masbach, and Rono running his usual eccentric race. What will he do now? He's got to make the pace. He hasn't got the finishing speed, but what he does do is run fast and slow. Fast and slow. He saps your strength. Fitzsimons of Australia lead, and there is an example of what Rono will do to you. Just moves up easily on the outside, almost looks with a contempt at the opposition, and this makes it so difficult for the rest, who like to conserve their energy at even pace running. Kenya in front, Australia second, and then the 2 northeasterners, Brendan Foster and Mike McLeod together. Sharper of America in 5th place. Right behind him, Rod Dixon, who's recently beaten Rono. The big men are all gathering there. Eamon Coughlin's there, Bernie Ford, so unlucky last week, but he lost his shoe and threw it so far afterwards he might well have won one of the throwing events. It was so disgusting. So we're down to 2, 4, 6, 8 athletes, with Lacey, United States, becoming undone with 6 laps left. Checking on the pace, they're still just outside of 13:20 pace, but the closing stages are going to warm up, and this is a battle between men and not a battle between men and the clock. And Rono again has eased down. Fitzsimons leads now, the Australian. ...29 years old, done 13:28 this season, 14th in the Olympic 10,000 metres, and the current Australian, former Australian champion. His personal best goes back to about 1977 when he did 13:17. Still Fitzsimons in front. Rono living at Rod Dixon's shoulder. These two had such a battle on the continent recently, Dixon and Rono, and Rono, for one rare occasion, was the loser. Dixon beat him over the last 300. Fitzsimons leads, Rono second, Dixon third, Foster 4, Eamon Coughlin 5, McLeod 6, Bernie Ford now in the picture 7th and going up on the outside. Tucked on the curb, the gold-invested American, Sharper, who's the current #1 in the States. There's such an atmosphere in the stadium, you can feel it all round the ground. And Rono making no sign of the move we expect from him. Just tried the fast and slow for a lap or so. It didn't do anything to the rest, and so Rono's given that idea up for the moment. Just over 5.5 laps to go. The pace now at a steady 65 seconds per lap.
Rono goes to the back of the field and doesn't seem to be responding to this little challenge. Looking at Rodney Dixon there, the tall figure, not wearing his black, number 50. Rod Dixon, now 30, began life as a sprinter, was the New Zealand mile champion at 18 years of age. Same coach as John Walker, Arch Gillingham, all of them disciples of Arthur Lydiard. And what a pedigree he's got. Fourth in the Christchurch 1,500 metres, fourth in the Montreal 5,000 metres, ahead of Big Bren, third in the Montreal 1,500, and still believes that he's capable of breaking 13 minutes for 5,000 metres.
Just looking at Brendan Foster and watching him with fascination, because I spent about half an hour after the race at Gateshead when he was beaten by Rod Dixon last week. He was on the physiotherapy table just having a massage, and he was disappointed really that he'd been left in front when the pacemaker Malcolm Prince dropped out and he'd had to make the pace himself. And he said then, if Bernie Ford hadn't lost his shoe, Bernie would have had to take it on, and I might not have been beaten by Dixon in those circumstances. Well, now Foster's sitting in there behind Dixon, and Dixon went with 280 metres to go in that race. Against Rono, he went with 300 to go and he beat Rono. And Bernie Ford, as we expected, a man now turning to marathon running, but an Olympic finalist at 10,000 metres, goes on in front. He puts the pressure on, the rest must follow. Oh, and Foster's fallen! Oh, a desperate fall, and Brendan Foster can forget this. There's no hope left for him. The cheers of the crowd as he rises, and desperate disappointment for Foster. I can't remember him falling before. He's absolutely red raw on his shoulder, and there is nothing left for Foster now in the race. And one of Britain's greatest hopes goes out just when the race was settling down to the pattern that he required. So it's left with Mike McLeod up there now, and Bernie Ford. McLeod has got into second place, and the world record holder Rono goes on the outside. Foster being encouraged by the crowd, but for him this afternoon is a lost cause. And one can only hope the selectors for the European Cup are going to be sympathetic when they look at the places at 5,000 and 10,000 metres. Moving up from Foster, he is closing now on the leaders, but it's a hopeless chase. Just over 2 laps to go, and Rono imposing himself on the rest, and Dixon won't let him. Dixon was caught on the curb and charged through, but Coughlin then came through on the near side, and the Irishman, brilliant over a mile, is not letting Rono get away, and Rono looks back, and they're all back there. It's like a cauldron here. Drama all the way, and the prospect of a fascinating last couple of laps. Rono goes again, sapping the strength of them. Dixon can't go, Coughlin does. McLeod tries to respond, but now it's Rono against the Irishman. They are clear. They're 10 metres clear of Dixon. McLeod goes up alongside Dixon, chased by Bernie Ford. Sharper, the greatest of the current Americans, can't live with this pace. He's dropped off as well, and Fitzsimons has been caught incredibly by Brendan Foster, who battles off. Rono, Coughlin and McLeod is back with them. Dixon's getting back as well, but that's because Rono's again on the fast and slow job. He moves out. The invitation for Coughlin to take over, which surely he shouldn't do because he's the faster finisher, allegedly. McLeod in third place. He's run a brilliant race. Dixon is 4, and then Bernie Ford gritting his teeth and lacking pace, hanging on in 5th place. But we're down to 4 athletes now, and the prospect of a tremendous battle over the last 300 metres, which they're about to enter. Coughlin holds the curb, Rono's right there, McLeod there too, Dixon hanging on 4. So it's Ireland, Kenya, Great Britain and New Zealand, and Coughlin controlling the inside. Rono right at the shoulder, still can't make the move. 200 metres left. The Irishman leads, the Kenyan second, McLeod of Britain third. And what can he do from there? Dixon's unlatched, and here goes Rono up to attack on the outside. Just over 100 metres. And Coughlin looks back at Rono, and here comes Dixon. He's come from nowhere. McLeod's coming as well, but Coughlin's got the speed. McLeod in second place, Dixon third, and the world record holder left for speed. Coughlin a magnificent win. McLeod equally fine run in second place. Dixon takes third. Rono is next. Ford is next. And Foster has beaten the American in spite of falling, the #1 American. The roars of applause for Brendan Foster as well. And there are boos around the track too. I think unnecessarily. No one wanted to see Foster on the floor. And someone got so emotional, I think, they got on the track then and have had to be removed. Well, that race boiled from start to finish. And as much applause there from Foster, who fought his way back in. But what an athlete Eamon Coughlin is. His father, president of the Irish Board, a lifetime of service to Irish athletics. And Coughlin now is moving up from 1,500 metres, where last season he failed to cope with Steve Ovett. Well, who's to say that this man in the green of Ireland will not be the next Olympic 5,000 metre champion? And as we see him going round the track, it's worth remembering too, this is the second outstanding win for Ireland in 24 hours, because John Tracy took the 10,000 metre title last night. We made the time for Coughlin in the last 200 metres, 27 seconds. And the time for the race, 13 minutes 24 for the winner. Rono here, well, he'd got it made. If he'd got anything left, he was in the position to attack, but the world record holder lacks sprinting speed. McLeod stole through on the inside, Dixon on the outside, and Rono knew for him it was all over. But Coughlin had got away. McLeod's shown here that after being injured, he fell on ice earlier this season. He is very much back. Remember, he's the national cross-country champions due, so his speed at 10,000 metres is going to be vital. But Coughlin's sheer basic miling speed dominated that, and he was always favourite when they couldn't shake him off. McLeod second, Dixon third, Rono fourth, and remarkably, I think Brendan Foster in the end finished in sixth place, having given the leaders some 50, 60 metres. Whether the crowd was booing the person who came on the track, I'm not sure. But this is the incident, and Foster was looking round then at something. Did you see that? But still the accident hasn't happened. And he was caught there by McLeod. It was clearly a clash between the two Britons, and McLeod, who haunts Foster all the way. They're such great rivals. They compete so heavily against each other. There is absolutely no suggestion from that picture, I would say, that it was anything other than an accident. But how ironic it should be that it's his near neighbour in the northeast who brought him down. In fact, that is worth looking at again, because I think it should be established beyond doubt, in view of the great rivalry in the northeast, that it was clearly an accident. I got an unusual shot there, which wasn't quite intended, but here Foster in the red-banded vest, McLeod moving up on the outside, and just caught his leg. I don't think there's any suggestion at all. Nothing can be levelled at McLeod about that. Just one of the situations that happen when athletes bunch. But Brendan Foster, who was looking for a fast race today, well, there was no hope of him ever really getting back in serious contention. That's Mel Batty, former 3A's 10,000 metre champion, talking to Foster. So Foster's started the season late with the intention of building up, and the selectors have got a problem now at 5 and 10,000 metres, because what do? You've got Foster, who doesn't want to run 10,000 metres, would prefer 5. McLeod, of course, clearly has the ability at 10 as well. But what a choice they've got to make. It'll be difficult. Whatever they do may be criticised. But they've got two great athletes to choose from. And really, Mike McLeod is developing with every race.